What is going on, fight fans? Welcome into the Gamble and Gains UFC 314 breakdown and prediction show. We have an electric card coming for you on Saturday night, and we will be going through every fight with predictions and a few best bets along the way. Now, as we make our way down the card, there is a rundown on the right side of your screen. Each fight will highlight in red when we are talking about that particular bout. So, without any further ado, let's get right into it. We lead off the night with Nora Cornolle and Hailey Cowan. Nora is the favorite here at minus 170, and I think rightfully so. Though the line has been moving closer to the middle throughout the week, Nora opened at around minus 200. Hailey was about plus 160, plus 170. But right now she's at a minus 170 favorite, and I think that is probably a good price to take her at. She is a dangerous striker with 6 of her 8 wins coming by TKO. Now, before losing her last fight by split decision, she had rattled off 8 straight victories, including her first 2 fights in the UFC. Now, on the other side, we have Hailey Cowan. She comes in looking for her first UFC victory, and she got into the UFC with a win in the Dana White Contender Series, for those of you who are familiar. If Hailey is going to win, she will need to use her endurance and avoid Nora's heavy hands. So Nora, when it goes to a decision, has been 1-2 in the past. I'm not sure that's really going to come into play too much here. I think she's got a really good striking advantage on the feet. You do see the reach and the height are about even. It's just Nora's experience in the UFC. She's 2-1, and that one loss was even a split decision. So the official prediction here is going to be for Nora to move to a 3-1 record in the UFC. And I do have a best bet here. So my best bet is going to be a double chance. So you might have to look for this a little bit on the sportsbooks. And I found this one on ReBet. So what you're doing is you're taking a fighter to win by one way or another way. I don't see a world where Nora takes this to the ground and wins by submission. This may go to the ground. I don't think Hailey's going to get submitted here. I think Nora wants to stay standing. You see that 6-0 TKO record that she does have, 4-1 her last 5 fights. I think Nora wants to keep this fight standing, and I think she wants to use that striking prowess that she does have. So with that, do I think she can knock out Hailey? Yes, and now that is juicy. That's about plus 450 right now, the last I saw on both DraftKings and on ReBet. However, Hailey has not ever been knocked out in her career. In her 3 losses, 2 were by submission and 1 was by decision. I think this probably goes the distance, but Nora definitely has that knockout power. So I don't want to go Nora by decision or Nora by knockout. I also think at minus 133, you're getting a pretty good discount on that minus 170 number. I was looking around at DraftKings, and it was about minus 160, so they're not really taking anything off there for you. At that point, if you're going to be playing it on DraftKings, which I don't recommend here, I recommend finding a book that's closer to this minus 133 number that I have on the board. If you can get it at minus 133, and she's out there at minus 170, some books minus 180 right now, this is a good bet to go with Nora by either TKO or decision. So make sure it's that double chance you're getting TKO or decision minus 133. As we move to the second fight, there are fireworks projected here. We have Gore coming in as a bit of a big underdog at plus 275 against Marco Trulio. So Gore is 5-2, 2-2 in the UFC. Now, what's important to note here is that after starting 0-2 in the UFC, he actually comes in with a 2-fight winning streak, with both of those victories coming by a guillotine submission. Now, Marco, on the other hand, is a heavy favorite, and I can see why. He comes into this fight at 13-1, 1-0 in the UFC, 5-0 in his last 5, and he's a knockout artist. And knockout artists, they can do really, really well, especially early in the fight card. What I worry about for Trulio is Gore is going to want to take this to the ground. And this is a fight where I think early on we're going to know one way or the other which way this is going to go. So I'm going to put my prediction up on the screen here. My prediction is that the odds makers are right and Marco Trulio probably wins the fight. right? Now, when I'm saying prediction, I mean like you're flipping the coin 50-50, not really taking the odds into consideration here. And I say that because I can't bet this fight beforehand. I think it's too hard. I did poke around. I was a little bit interested in Gore, to win by submission. But the best price I found for that was like plus 400. I should say Gore to win by submission or decision was like plus 400. And at that point, if you like Gore that much, I'd probably take plus 275 because a fight can go to the ground and they can be going for that submission, and then you get that knockout, you get the ground and pound, the fight's over that way. So you don't want to lose a bet like that. I think if you like Gore, you take him at that plus 275. Now, the other thing I would say is this could be a really good spot to look to bet live. We're going to know early if Gore at plus 275, plus 280 is going to be a live dog, or if Marco's going to really dominate this fight. Gore is going to be looking for that takedown. Now, if he can score an early takedown, I say you jump on him as soon as you can if it's still plus money. Because if Gore gets one takedown, he's going to have the confidence to go for a second one. Especially if in that first round he's able to hold Trulio down, that's a great sign. Now, on the flip side, if Gore is going for takedowns and Marco's got his takedown defense solid and he's pushing him down, he's pushing him back, maybe catches Tresean with a shot here or there, then I think you might look to take Trulio live. Odds makers are saying this fight probably goes under. Now, if you have access to BetMGM, I haven't seen this line out yet. They're usually the only book that I see that ever has this type of bet out there. They will actually let you make a bet with submissions on the specific type of submission for a fighter. If you're going to bet this before the fight actually starts and you don't want to do this live for whatever reason, you don't have access to that, but you do have access to BetMGM, what you're going to want to do is look for Gore at guillotine submission specifically on BetMGM, and you're going to have to look for this one. Anything over plus 1,000, I think is probably a good idea to sprinkle a little bit on, maybe about half unit. Don't go a whole unit on that. If Gore wins, he has a lot of confidence with that guillotine submission as of late. That is probably the submission he's going to be looking for if he can get that fight to the ground. Up next, we have Maderji, Mitch Raposo. So this one I see as a little tough to gauge, and this is another example of styles make fights. It's something that we all know. For those of us who watch the UFC, we hear it all the time, and it is very true in this fight. It was true in the last fight we just broke down, and it's kind of the theme for the night. We have a lot of grapplers going up against a lot of strikers. Here is no different. We have Maderji and we have Raposo. So let's start with Maderji. He has been a little bit of a streaky fighter. He came into the UFC hot. So he lost his first fight, rattled off 3 straight wins, went up in competition, then lost his last 3 fights. So he's 2-3 in his last 5. Now, he is a little bit of a knockout artist. As you can see there, he's 13-0 in fights ending in knockout. So he's going to look to keep this fight standing. And he has a pretty good shot at doing that with his large reach advantage. As you can see there, he's got 3 inches on the height, but he's also got 8 inches on the reach, which is the biggest disparity we're going to have tonight. 8 inches on the reach that's a lot. Now, we flip it over to Raposo, who is the underdog. He is 0-1 in the UFC. Now, after dominating the New England regional MMA circuit, he is looking for that first UFC victory. He was 4-0 in his previous fight before coming to the UFC, but he did lose that UFC debut, as so many fighters do. Now, he's got an impressive record here, right? He's 4-0 TKO, so he feels okay up on the feet. Where I think he wants to take this, though, especially given that reach, is he wants to take this fight to the ground. You see, he's 3-1 in submissions. Maderji is 1-6 in fights ending in submission. So Raposo's going to be looking to take this to the ground. He's the underdog, rightfully so. It's going to be really, really hard for him to get inside. Now, if he does, and he does get inside, he's going to be able to take this fight down, because that's one of those keys. If you can get inside that striking range of a longer fighter, it limits the amount of power that they're coming at you with, right? So if he can get inside and he can get a takedown, I think these odds flip really quick. So I would almost play this similarly to the last fight that we just saw with, the underdogs looking for that takedown. If he can get it, might be time to throw some money on that dog. Official prediction for the fight is going to be Maderji. I think there are some instances where the grappler tonight will be able to get in, will be able to get those takedowns. I think the previous fight is a great example. This one is going to be tough with that reach advantage. That reach, height, size advantage is going to be a lot for Raposo to overcome. You're going to know early if he's going to be able to overcome it. And if it looks like he is, that would be the time to strike. Early in round 1, you're going to know, is Sue stuffing the takedowns? He's done a bad job of that in the past. I mean, he's 1-6 when fights end in submission, which indicates he's not very good on the ground, and I would agree with that. I just don't know that Raposo is going to be able to get it to the ground and get inside and get close enough to take him down. Sue really wants to stay on the feet, score those points, maybe get a knockout, maybe win by decision. He's doing whatever he can to not get taken down here. Now, in the final bout on ESPN+, we have Cedriques Dumas and Michael, I'm going to screw this name, Oleksiejczuk. All right, so Michael is -200. Dumas is +170. They're both about 500 in the UFC, right? Dumas was able to pick up finishes over opponents early in his career, but his last 3 victories in the UFC have all come by decision. He also comes in a bit of a hot streak, though, winning 3 of his last 4, right? So the knockouts have stopped, but the wins have started back up, right? He's 3-1. He lost his UFC debut. Now he's 3-1 in the UFC. Michael, on the other hand, is 1-4 in his last 5. And now while that's a little bit alarming at first, we have to take into account that he's been fighting the upper echelon of middleweights. He took a big step up and was fighting guys like Kevin Holland, right? Big names like that who are title contenders. Now he's taken that step back. He's the featured bout on the early prelims over on ESPN+. All of that said, my best bet here is Dumas. I really like his performances of late, so he should be coming in with a lot of confidence. That 5-inch reach advantage will also help him avoid those powerful hands of Michael. You see, Michael is 14-1 and fights at NTKO, so he wants that knockout. This is another spot, though, where that reach advantage comes into play. Being at a 5-inch reach disadvantage and trying to win by knockout is a tall order, and that is one of the many reasons why I'm going with Dumas here. I like the confidence he's coming in with. I like his reach advantage. He's the younger fighter, and this should go well for Dumas. He's also taller by 2 inches. I like it if it goes to the ground, which Dumas should be able to do. And even if it stays standing, I think he can hold his own here. So we're going to go with best bet, Cedriques Dumas at +270. Now, as we head to the ESPN prelims, we have a fight between 2 guys who have over 81 combined professional fights. Both of these guys have been doing it for a very long time, and we should be in for a treat here. The whole set of prelims on ESPN is actually really stacked, and this is a great fight to start the night with. Both fighters are coming in off of 2-fight win streaks. Elkins is now 40 years old, which is crazy because I remember watching him fight in the UFC 10 plus years ago. Now, Erosa is a good fighter who is a ground game specialist. You can kind of see that on your screen here. Fight on the hand, on the feet, 11-7. Fight goes to the ground, 14-0. And if it goes to decision, 50-50, right? As it is with so many of these guys, it can kind of become a 50-50 fight there. Elkins is really good on the ground as well. I think Erosa can probably take him down. Can he submit him? I don't think so. You see that one loss of Darren Elkins on the ground actually came to Charles Oliveira, and get this, 2010. Yeah, 15 years ago was the only time Darren Elkins has ever been submitted, and it was by Charles Oliveira. I like Julian. I don't think he has the grappling game that a guy like Charles has. So while picking Erosa by sub sounds intriguing on the surface, I think I saw it out there around +100, +150. I would stay away from that. I don't think he's going to be able to submit Elkins. He may dominate him on the ground, and I think that's kind of what these odds makers are expecting here. If you look, the total it's sitting at 2.5, about even money. Maybe a little slight edge to go over, which means I think it goes to decision. But Erosa at minus 370. I don't think the odds makers think he's going to just win this on the feet by punching Elkins in the face all night long. I think they think, and I tend to agree, that he's going to be able to take this down. So I think Erosa probably gets it done. Again, this is my prediction. If we look at it at 50-50, taking the odds out of it, you would have to go with Erosa here. He's the younger fighter by a lot. He's more of an up-and-coming fighter. I know he's only 8-6 in the UFC, but he's more of an up-and-coming fighter. He has more advantages. He is great on the ground. He can dominate on the ground, even if it doesn't end in a submission. He's got a height advantage. He's got a reach advantage. I think Erosa should win this fight. So now, while not an official play, Darren Elkins to win by knockout is sitting at plus 1,000. If you really like Elkins and you want to see him go out with a bang, I think that's the way you play this. Otherwise, I think this is probably no bet, and there's going to be some really great fights here tonight that we're not going to be betting on, or I personally am not going to be betting on, and I'm just going to be sitting back and enjoying it. This next fight is a perfect example of that. I love Jim Miller. Chase Hooper looks absolutely amazing. This young fighter, up and coming, he looks great. Jim Miller, another guy, I can't believe he's still fighting. He is 27-17 in the UFC alone. He is 38-18 as an MMA fighter. He started in UFC at UFC 89 in October of 2008. Now, while he is a dog, all of his last 6 wins dating back to 2021 have all either come by submission or by knockout. That is probably going to be the case again here. Now, he's a plus 480 dog. If you like Jim Miller, and this is not my bet, but if you are a Jim Miller fan and you really, really want to bet on Jim Miller, I'd bet on him to finish. I'd bet on him to finish Hooper, and I would bet on it's plus 600 if you want the double chance. If you really want to go crazy with it, the knockout's around plus 1,000. He's probably going to want to keep this standing and not take this to the ground with Hooper. You can see Hooper's 8-0 in fights that end in submission. Miller probably thinks he can hold his own on the ground. He's 21-3. I remember a couple of those were some pretty nasty arm bars when he was in a pretty bad spot. There's some of his big highlight reel victories. This bout is likely to feature a lot of high-level grappling because I think Hooper is going to take it down, and I don't think he's going to be able to submit Miller. Miller is very tough to submit. He's very good on the ground, and as good as Hooper is, Miller is almost as slick, and we'll see if he's got any more in the tank. I mean, he's over 40 years old as well, like Elkins. So my official prediction here is going to be for Chase Hooper, but what I encourage you all to do is sit back and enjoy this fight. This might be Jim Miller's last fight. Chase Hooper's that up-and-coming star. If Chase Hooper can pull off the win here, this should catapult him into that title discussion. Jim Miller is a big name in the UFC, even at 40-plus years old. He's still got a lot in the tank, and he is coming off of an actual win, right? He is 3-2 in his last 5. It's not like he's riding off and not winning these fights, right? He's 3-2. His UFC 300, he lost I believe it was a split decision to Bobby Green. So he could easily be 4-1 in his last 5, just like Hooper is. That said, Hooper should have all the advantages here. Hooper should win the fight. I can't bet him at minus 900. That's way too rich for me. But I'm just going to sit back and enjoy the show, and I hope you guys all do too. As we move on, we have Xiaonan Yan and Verna Jandiroba. So Jandiroba comes in at minus 170. She's on a win streak. She's 4-1. Yan comes in 3-2. However, she is just 2 fights removed from a title fight. Now, yeah, she got crushed by Wei Li, but who hasn't? Like, so many people have just fallen to that dominance of Zhang Wei Li, right? So impressive wins over some big names in the sport for Yan, such as Mackenzie Dern, Jessica Andrade, and even most recently, Tabitha Ricci back in November. Now, Verna's been rolling as well with a 4-fight win streak, and her last win coming by submission. She is a great grappler, and of her 7 UFC victories, 4 have come by submission. So this is another example here of styles making fights. Now, I have two best bets on this one. I think the striker gets the better of the grappler here. I'm going to take Jan here at plus 123. I think that experience that she has against that top flight talent in the women's strawweight division really helps her out here. It's the type of competition that while Verna has been winning, she hasn't seen that yet. She hasn't seen that level yet. So this is a step, I don't want to say step down because you don't know how good Verna can possibly be, but this is going to feel probably like a step down from Jan, right? So she should look good early, but again, you're going to know early how this fight's going to go. Verna's either going to get a takedown early, which is what she wants to do, right? 14-0 in fights that end in submission, or Jan is going to be able to keep this standing, right? Jan's going to be able to keep this standing, score her points, maybe get a knockout. I don't think there's a knockout here. This probably goes to decision, and I think Jan is going to be able to strike her way to at least 2 rounds, maybe 3 rounds. Maybe she gets at 30-27. Probably 29-28. Verna is a good fighter. She's probably going to get a takedown at some point or close to takedown at some point. She will have her moments. But for me, this is Jan plus 123 and over 2.5. Right now sitting at minus 200. As we head to the featured prelim, we say 50K Dan Ige up against Sean Woodson. I'll get to my pick in a minute, but Woodson seems to me like an undervalued favorite. Ige is 2-3 in his last 5, while we have Woodson who is 4-0-1. He had a fight that ended in a draw. Now, Woodson has a significant reach advantage here. So we saw that 8-inch reach advantage earlier. This is a 7-inch reach advantage. He also has a, 7-inch height advantage? That is going to be huge, and I think the ultimate determining factor here. I really like Dan Ige. I think he's a great fighter. 18-9. He's 2-2 in the UFC. He can win a lot of ways, but not usually by decision, right? So he's 7-9 in fights that end in decision, meaning he generally either runs out of gas or ends up needing a finish, and he's been getting it a lot of times. As we look at Woodson, impressive, right? 4-0 in TKOs. Subs, not great, but those decisions at 8-0. He's got that size. He's got that reach. I think the odds makers think this is going over. That is priced right now at minus 250. Now, that's a little rich for me. So what we're going to go with, a best bet here, is Sean Woodson at minus 170. I do think he's undervalued. I think we take Sean Woodson at minus 170. I think he should probably be about minus 200, maybe even minus 250. I think there's a lot for Ige to overcome here in terms of Woodson's striking prowess as well as the height and reach advantage that Woodson does have. With that, later on in the show, we'll go over my best bets. I do have some daily fantasy plays for those of you who do like to play on Prize Picks or only play on Prize Picks. Those who like Prize Picks, more power to you. It's not my favorite, but they do have some good opportunities this weekend that I have been able to find. One of those is Woodson significant strikes. They have it priced right now at 72.5. And I think that goes over relatively easily. If you just consider the fact that Woodson is probably going to be staying outside, he's probably going to be trying to jab and punch a lot, not necessarily be trying to take it down. Ige's got a strong chin. I don't think he's going to get knocked out here. Odds makers obviously don't think he's going to get knocked out here at minus 250, but they do like Sean Woodson. So that to me says that Woodson is going to be striking a lot all night long. 73.5 over 3 rounds is, or 72.5 over 3 rounds is really not that much. We're looking at about 25 per round. Woodson has the ability to output 30-35 strikes in a round. So I really like the over on significant strikes if we're going to be playing on Prize Picks, and I will tell you guys what to pair that with later on in the show. As we head to the main event on pay-per-view, find a local bar, get some friends, do whatever you gotta do. This is a really solid pay-per-view. I don't think we've seen one like this in a while, probably not since UFC 300. Now, top to bottom, we should get some really good fights on the main event. I know myself, I'm going to be finding a spot to post up, watch all 5 of these fights. This should be a really, really fun night of fights. We kick it off with a bang. Nikita Krylov and Dominic Reyes. So let's start with Nikita. So he's coming off 3 straight high-quality wins. Ryan Spahn, Volkan Ozdemir, and Alexander Gustafsson. Now, Goose is not quite what he used to be, but still a big name, still a very technically sound fighter. So to get a win over him is always impressive. And he comes in at a minus 190 favorite. He has a lot of fights in his career. He is 30-9. He is 11-6 in the UFC, and he is 3-2 in his last 5. He's been able to finish guys with both TKOs and submissions. You see, he rarely takes a fight to decision. He's 2-2 in fights that do end in a decision. Now on the other side, we have Dominic Reyes. Reyes is an interesting character here. So his last 5, he is 2-3. We see his last 5, he is 2-3. But he was 0-3 before winning 2 in a row. And those 2 wins is a knockout over Dustin Jacoby, impressive. But now, way more impressively, at least to me, Anthony Smith. If you were able to finish Anthony Lionheart Smith, you have legitimate power. Now, Smith, not the best fighter, right? We saw what happened when he faced John Jones, when he faces that upper tier of fighters, and he's a little bit older. But he has always had a chin like a champion, right? So if you're able to finish that guy, that sends off flashes. That's on my radar, right? That's setting off smoke signals, right? If you're able to finish Anthony Lionheart Smith, that should raise some alarms that this guy's got some power, and that's where we're going to, right? Reyes generally comes in for blood. In his last 5 fights, none of them have made it to the 3rd round. 0 fights have made it to the 3rd round. So that is where we're going to start with our best bets. And then I have another that's a bit of a long shot. Right now, the under 2.5 is priced at just minus 146. This is a no-brainer for me. This is a 2-unit bet for me. Under 2.5 minus 146. Neither of these guys like going to decision. I think Reyes comes in as probably deservedly a slight underdog, and he's going to be looking for that knockout. We know he's going to be looking for that knockout. And Nikita, on the other hand, he's got the power to stand there and take it and deliver those blows right back to Reyes. He's also got that ability on the ground to get the submission if it goes there. I really like under 2.5 here. Now, I really like, as a long shot, Reyes by TKO. This will only be a 1-unit play for me, not a 2. Reyes by TKO, you see he's plus 141, right? But we also know this fight probably goes under. We also know that he's last 2 times out, he's won by a knockout. So to me that says if Reyes wins, it will likely be by knockout. Plus 400 is a great deal there. I think that should probably be around like plus 250, plus 300. So to get that at plus 400, that's a lot of value you're getting on Reyes at plus 400 right there. So now, if you get Reyes knockout and the under 2.5, you're going to win both of your bets. I think either way this fight goes, under 2.5 is a no-brainer. And the Reyes TKO, for me personally, is a value bet. This isn't necessarily one of those styles make fights type of fights where we're worried about, one guy might be shooting takedowns and the other guy's going to be trying to stand. Krylov will stand with Reyes. If Reyes wants to meet him in the middle of the ring, Krylov will stand in the middle of the ring with Reyes, right? He's got just as much power, if not more. That's why I like Reyes by TKO. I think he's a very live dog in this fight. Plus 141, that's pretty dang close to even. So Reyes by TKO, under 2.5. Under 2.5 is the best bet. Reyes TKO, I like on the side. We have Rodriguez, minus 200. UFC veteran versus Patricio Pitbull. Finally, after all these years, making his UFC debut. Let's start with Pitbull. Right, so he is 3-2 in his last 5. I really wish he came in to the UFC sooner. He is a very well-balanced fighter. You can see by the way that he's racked up his victories. He's literally even. He's got 12 knockouts, 12 subs, 12 decisions. He's a great fighter, and maybe back in like 2020, 2021, I would really love to see this guy competing in the UFC. He goes up against Yair Rodriguez at minus 200. Rodriguez has had a very interesting career path in the UFC. He started out scorching hot, but has really struggled of late, losing 3 of his last 5. Now, it is also important to note that all of his last 4 fights have ended in either a finish for him or a finish for his opponent. Now, both losses came in round 3, so you might have thought I was going under 2.5 here. Again, I'm not doing that. Like I said, both losses coming in round 3. We need to be careful with that under 2.5, and the not to go the distance is always juiced way too high for me. That if you think that, you gotta take the under 2.5, and because there's not that many finishes in the last 230 of a fight, generally speaking. Not always, generally speaking. Now, so for me, I think Rodriguez wins this fight. He's got the UFC experience, so he's been fighting a little bit higher caliber of opponent. He's younger. He has a large reach advantage. He has a large height advantage. And again, this is Pitbull's UFC debut. He could come out. He could knock out Rodriguez. He's definitely got the power. He could also sub Rodriguez. He's definitely got the skills on the ground. But with that reach advantage, with that previous UFC experience, I'm going to go with the prediction, not a bet, of Yair Rodriguez here. This is one that I really want to enjoy. I really like watching Rodriguez fight. I remember he came into the UFC. I'm a Taekwondo guy myself. I know he's a Taekwondo guy. His kicks have been amazing. He had that last second win a few years back. And then Pitbull, I'm excited to see what he brings to the UFC. I'm excited to see what he's got in the tank at this point in his career. I really hope he can make a little run at the title. That would be nice to see. But I'm going to go with an official prediction of Yair Rodriguez. Again, no bet, but prediction, Yair Rodriguez. We now head to Bryce Mitchell and Jean Silva. This has fight of the night written all over it. I'm telling you guys, this has it written all over it. In a night of styles makes fights being the theme, this one takes the cake. Ground game phenom Bryce Mitchell, 9-1 in his career, 1 fights, and in submission, is up against knockout artist Jean Silva. Now, after starting his UFC career, let's start with Mitchell. Starting his UFC career 5-0, he has struggled of late, going only 2-2. You see, he's 3-2 in his last 5. He started 5-0, UFC record 7-2, so 2-2 in his last 4. So he has struggled of late. Now, on the other side, we have Silva, who is a minus 250 favorite. And my goodness, has he been impressive since coming in to the UFC. So he has that 15-2 record. He's 4-0 in the UFC. He's 5-0 in his last 5. And his 4 wins in the UFC, you know, we see a lot of guys, they come to the UFC, that power fades because, you know, everybody's got that power. Everybody's got that chin. Everybody's just as good as you are now, right? Not with Silva. He came into the UFC, 1, 2, 3, 4 straight knockouts to start his career. That is incredibly impressive. So what's interesting here, right? We had the striker, we have had the grappler all night. The striker generally has had the reach advantage, which is why I've been going with the striker so often. That is not the case here. Mitchell should be able to get it in on Silva. The question is, how long does this fight last? And now they've been talking a lot back and forth with each other. They don't seem to like each other a whole lot. So I think my best bet here is going to be under 2.5 rounds at minus 150. Again, this feels a little bit like a steal here at minus 150. This probably feels like it should be higher. I don't see a way this fight goes the distance. Silva, knockout artist. He's going to be looking for that knockout. Mitchell's submission specialist. If he gets Silva on the ground in a position he is not comfortable yet in the UFC, he could definitely win by submission. I mean, as good as Silva has been, he has not yet been on the ground with a guy like Bryce Mitchell. So Silva by TKO right now is plus 115. I don't totally hate that. If you really, really, really like Silva here, I think that's probably the way you play it. You play that at plus 115. But for me, I kind of want to hedge a little bit with that double chance. I think Mitchell can win this fight, and I think if he does, it's going to be by submission. Now, the favorite is Silva. He is a favorite to knock him out. I think that will probably happen, and I think it will probably happen early. So we're going best bet under 2.5 rounds, minus 150. I love this pick. I love this just as much as the Krylov and Reyes under 2.5. as we head to the co-main event of the evening. We have Michael Chandler and we have Paddy Pimblett. Chandler comes in 1-4 in his last 5 after winning his UFC debut. He's another guy I wish was able to come over sooner than he did. I think a lot of those 23-9 would have, that record probably would have held in the UFC in his younger days. He also came in and, much like Pitbull, went straight to the top of the competition, right? Paddy is the rising star here, right? 22-3, 6-0 in the UFC, 5-0 in the last 5. He likes to win these fights by knockout. He can also beat you on the ground, and he can also go the distance. So he started off facing some easier opponents, but recently he's got 2 wins over some MMA stalwarts in Bobby Green and Tony Ferguson. Now, neither of those guys are quite what they used to be, understood, but they are still, top tier MMA fighters. So if Paddy can get the W here, he should be in line for a title shot shortly, and I think he does. We're going with a best bet on Paddy the Baddy Pimblett at -155. I really like Michael Chandler. I think he's a great fighter. He just keeps getting these absolutely brutal draws, but that's what he wanted, and that's what the UFC wanted for him. Pimblett is the favorite here. I think rightfully so. I think he's actually a little bit undervalued. This is a step up, I would say, in competition for Pimblett, but I think he can still get the job done against Michael Chandler. It is time for the main event of the evening. Alexander the Great has not been great of late. Losing 3 of his last 4, he moves back to the featherweight division to take on the scorching hot Diego Lopes, who is on a 5-fight win streak and is very deserving of this title shot. Now, this is a very, very interesting fight. And while everything on paper seems to lean towards Diego, the win streak, the age difference, he's 30, Volk is 36, and the height as well, right? 5'11" to 5'6". We know that can be an advantage. It can be imposing when you're going up against somebody that big in the featherweight. I mean, featherweight 145, 5'11", Diego's going to come in big, right? He's going to come in big. So before you bet it, and I have a best bet on this, and before we bet that, we probably want to see what he looks like at the weigh-ins, because he's a big guy at 5'11", fighting in the featherweight division. I do have a couple concerns beyond the weight cut. He has never been in a 5-round fight, so if this goes to the championship rounds, we know Volk has the advantage. He has won many, many decisions in 5-round fights. This is a big step up in competition for Diego. Now, before winning his last 2 decisions, his last 2 fights were wins by decision, he was 2-4 by decision. So maybe he's figured out the stamina piece, right? We see him coming in at 5'11" at featherweight. Stamina is definitely an issue. However, he's a great finisher, right? Of his 26 wins, 22 are by finish. 22 of 26 victories are by finish. Whereas Volk, on the other hand, likes to drag those guys, especially who haven't been there, into deep water. So, my prediction for this fight is that it probably goes under and Diego wins. Those are my predictions. I do have a bet here, and this is going to be my long shot of the night. We have Diego Lopes in the first round at plus 1025. Now, why do I like this? I think Diego knows he doesn't want this to get to the 3rd round. He's got a lot of power. He's got a lot of finishing prowess, a lot of submissions. And now, when do we see the most submissions? We usually see them earlier on in fights. First round, sometimes the 2nd round, when these guys aren't too sweaty yet, right? We see those knockouts a lot early too. These guys aren't too sweaty yet. When you get sweaty, it's hard to lock in because it's slippery. It's hard to land that punch and land it clean because you could slip right off the top of Volk's bald head, right? So we want Diego, first round, plus 1025. This is like half a unit. This is a super long shot, but it is my long shot of the night, and I do love that it's in the main event. That is usually not the case, but it is tonight. I really like Diego in the first round to win this fight, and I think he can do it on the feet or on the ground. He may look to take this on the ground because Volk is so good at standing, right? So On the feet, on the ground, doesn't matter. We're not betting it that way. We're betting Diego Lopes, first round, plus 1025. And with that, we have reached the end of the previews. Let's review the best bets we had tonight and how I'm playing this and the sportsbooks that I'm playing them at. We're going to lead it off. Cornolle, top of the card by TKO or decision. Remember, we're doing that double chance here. The best price I found was minus 133 on ReBet, and they operate as a sweepstakes sportsbook. They're legal in places like California, Texas, Florida if you're not trying to only play at Hard Rock. I'll have a video going over what these sweepstakes sportsbooks are at a later date, but just know they operate as a regular sportsbook. You can use your bank account, withdraw very easily, deposit very easily. ReBet, minus 133. Cedricus Dumas, plus 170 at ProphetX. ProphetX and NoVig below operate as betting exchanges, so very similar to a sportsbook, but the VIGs and these money lines are going to be a lot tighter than you would typically see. Not always the case, but typically. So we're going to go Cedricus Dumas, plus 170, ProphetX. We're going to take that same fight, Jan and Jandiroba, over 2.5 rounds, minus 200, also on NoVig. And to round out the prelims, we're going with Sean Woodson, minus 170 on ProphetX. Rounding out the best bets, remember we have 5 more, including that long shot. So we're going to go Nikita Krylov and Dominic Reyes under 2.5. Reyes by TKO, plus 400 at ReBet. And I want to give a shout out to ReBet here. They are the only sweepstakes sportsbook that I have found. Comment below if you've found others, because I'm always looking to learn, always looking for more outs. The more sports books, the better prices you can have, the better shopping you can do. But ReBet is the only one that I've seen, again, that has these side props, the fighter to win by TKO, fighter to double chance, right? Those types of things. I'm not seeing that on places like NoVig or ProphetX quite yet. I'm not seeing that on places like Fliff. They have your standard overs and unders, fighter to win, fighter to lose, that type of stuff. So ReBet does have these kind of side props that you see a lot of times on DraftKings or a FanDuel. So plus 400, Reyes by knockout over on ReBet. Remember, that's a value play. Krylov probably wins the fight, but if Reyes wins, and I think plus 150 is probably fair for Reyes to see if he wins, he's probably going to win by knockout. So we're going plus 400, Reyes by knockout. Then we are going to go Mitchell and Silva under 2.5 rounds, minus 150 at NoVig. Paddy Pimblett, minus 155 at ProphetX. And of course, our long shot of the night, Diego Lopes to win in round 1 against Alexander Volkanovski at plus 1025. This is also found on ReBet. For my daily fantasy players, those of you who like to play on PrizePicks and Underdog, I have 4 plays for you. Unfortunately, you cannot put these together in a 4-man pick, and you cannot do the correlated parlay version of that, meaning you can't put like Ige and Woodson together here. So we're going to go Ige under half a takedown, Mitchell under 1.5 takedowns, Woodson over 72.5 strikes, and Silva Mitchell under 10 minutes of total fight time. So basically, you're taking an under 2 rounds there. If Ige does not get a takedown, Woodson is going to have more than 72.5 strikes. If Mitchell gets less than 2 takedowns, this fight will end in less than 10 minutes, either by a knockout. And honestly, if Mitchell takes Silva down one time, that may be enough, and he can submit him with just 1 takedown. So again, you're going to kind of have to pair this, and you can kind of pick the way you want to pair it. I personally paired Ige under half takedowns with the Silva Mitchell under 10 minutes of total fight time, and then Mitchell under 1.5 takedowns with Woodson over 72.5 significant strikes. Now, before you go, I did want to put up a couple of referral codes on the screen for the sports books and apps that I personally used to make all of these bets today. So first off, we have our daily fantasy, PrizePicks. Those were where I found those DFS plays before. I think you can find them on Underdog. I found them on PrizePicks. PrizePicks code is on the screen, and all of these codes are going to be down in the description as well. We have NoVig, ProphetX. Those are our betting exchanges, legal in 40 plus states. And then we have ReBet, our sweepstakes style sportsbook, which is also legal in 40 plus states. Fliff is as well, but I really wanted to just shout out the 4 sportsbooks and apps that I personally used to make my picks today. That is all for me. If you like what you saw, please be sure to like and subscribe and drop a comment below. If you have any bets going out this weekend or if you have any favorite fighters fighting this weekend, I would love to hear about it. You can also find me over on X and on TikTok, and it's going to be at Gamble and Gains, the same way it is spelled right here on YouTube. That is all from me. I hope you enjoyed the show. I hope you enjoy the fights. And until next time, remember to bet smart and lift heavy.